Have you ever paused to reflect on how much of your freedom you've unknowingly traded for the fleeting approval of others? It's easy to slip into this trap, becoming the performer in someone else's play, tirelessly rehearsing lines that were never yours to speak, all in the hope of applause that never comes. This isn't just about attention. It's about how subtly people embed themselves into the fabric of your thoughts, dictating your emotions and decisions. They know what they're doing. They've crafted a story where you are not the protagonist but a side character, chasing relevance in someone else's narrative. Each time you linger over a message that never arrives or adjusts your behavior to match their whims, you tighten the chains that bind you to their control. The truth is painful but liberating. Your energy, your presence, and your time are finite. Every moment you expend craving validation or seeking recognition is a moment you lose. They've mastered the art of breadcrumbs, giving you just enough attention to keep you coming back, but never enough to satisfy. It's not an accident. It's a strategy, and you've been playing the game on their terms. But what if you could rewrite the script? What if, instead of chasing shadows, you reclaimed your role as the author of your own life? There's a reason why ancient Stoics like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius urged us to look within, to master our emotions, and stop allowing external forces to dictate our value. This is your moment to break free from the invisible shackles and realize that the only validation you need comes from within. The path forward is not to retreat slightly or negotiate the terms of your worth. It requires going cold, completely cold. This isn't about bitterness or revenge. It's about preserving your peace, your dignity, and your sense of self. Indifference isn't just a tactic. It's a profound shift in how you view the world. The power lies not in proving them wrong, but in no longer needing their recognition at all. And the moment you embrace this mindset, this unwavering detachment, you'll discover a truth so potent it will shake you to your core. The power was always yours, waiting for you to claim it. When you stop chasing, you realize that the chains binding you were never locked. You were holding the key all along. Section 1. Reclaiming the driver's seat. Think for a moment about how easily we hand over the keys to our emotional well-being. It happens in subtle ways. When you refresh your messages hoping to see their name, when you replay conversations in your head wondering how you could have said something differently, or when you adjust your behavior hoping they'll finally notice your worth. Each small act, each emotional adjustment, transfers your power into their hands. Whether they realize it or not, they begin to steer your emotions. You find yourself in a position no Stoic would tolerate. Your sense of peace and self-worth now rests on someone else's attention, someone who dispenses it sparingly like a prized commodity. The ancient philosophers warned us that to allow others to control our inner state is the greatest surrender of all. This is where the game must end. To reclaim your life, you must first recognize the illusion. They've never held real power over you, only the power you've willingly handed them. When you seek validation from those who withhold it, you become a pawn on their chessboard, always waiting, always reacting. But there is a way to flip the game. Detachment, cold, unwavering detachment, is the key. Indifference isn't weakness. It is the embodiment of control. When you cease to react, you starve their manipulations. They dangle moments of recognition, expecting you to respond. But when you remain unmoved, their game collapses. The puppet strings they once pulled become limp and meaningless in your absence. Understand this. Indifference is not an act of retaliation, but a profound declaration of self-respect. It's not about being cold-hearted or cynical. It's about no longer placing your piece on the auction block for others to bid on. When you reclaim your time and energy, you re-enter the driver's seat of your own life. Stoicism teaches that your inner world belongs to you alone, and when you stop allowing others to govern it, you reclaim more than just control. You reclaim yourself. Let their confusion serve as your affirmation. Your absence, your refusal to react, speaks louder than any argument you could make. And in that silence, you are free. Free to live not as an accessory to someone else's whims, but as the rightful author of your own story. Section 2. Indifference as the ultimate armor. There is a rare kind of strength in stillness, a kind that disorients those accustomed to controlling you. When you stop reacting, stop explaining, and stop trying to be seen, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability unsettles those who thrive on control. They expect you to flinch at every emotional push, to reach out when they go silent, to prove your worth again and again. But when you meet their manipulation with unwavering indifference, you shatter their illusion of control. Indifference is not just the absence of emotion. It is the deliberate refusal to be swayed by external forces. As Marcus Aurelius taught, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you withdraw from the game they've designed for you, you flip the entire script. They are left standing in confusion, caught in the void where your reactions used to be. That silence you create becomes an echo that reverberates through their mind, louder than any argument or confrontation ever could. And in that silence, you make a profound statement. I no longer need your approval. What they once mistook for weakness was your willingness to care. But now, through indifference, you show them that your peace is not a prize they can grant or withhold. This shift changes everything. Here's the paradox. The less you care, the more powerful you become. Those who rely on your attention to validate their ego will struggle to adjust to this new dynamic. They counted on your availability and believed you would always play along. But now, your absence is a mirror reflecting their own insignificance in your life. It forces them to question their worth in ways they never imagined. That's the brilliance of indifference. It quietly dismantles their assumptions without a word, leaving them scrambling for relevance. The beauty of this mindset lies in its simplicity. Indifference isn't about shutting down your emotions. It's about reclaiming your power by refusing to place your peace in the hands of others. Your energy, your thoughts, your focus, they belong to you. And the moment you stop offering them freely, you reclaim the sacred space of your inner self. With every moment of silence, every time you resist the urge to engage, you reinforce a boundary that can no longer be crossed. And in doing so, you become untouchable, armored not by bitterness, but by clarity and self-possession. They will feel it, and they will react. But by then, their reactions will no longer matter, because you have learned the most valuable truth of all. The power was always within you. You simply had to stop giving it away. Section 3. Cutting the puppet strings, reclaiming yourself. For too long, you've allowed others to pull the invisible strings that dictate your emotions. Whether it's an unreturned text, a last-minute cancellation, or a subtle dig at your character, you've been dancing to their rhythm without realizing it. It's exhausting, isn't it? The constant effort to align yourself with their expectations, hoping they'll finally recognize your worth, is a game you were never meant to play. This is the trap that ancient Stoics warned about. When you rely on external events or people to define your sense of value, you lose control over the only thing that truly belongs to you, your inner world. The truth is, every time you chase validation from someone unwilling to offer it, you hand over a piece of your power. You react exactly as they expect, dancing to the tune they play. But here's the hard truth. People who string you along know precisely what they are doing. They give you just enough attention to keep you engaged, feeding your hope while ensuring you remain within reach. To cut the puppet strings means stepping away from their control, not with anger, but with intention. It's not an act of rebellion. It's an act of liberation. When you sever those emotional ties, you stop being a puppet in their story and reclaim your role as the protagonist in your own. This shift isn't just about walking away. It's about unlearning the reflex to seek meaning in their approval. The Stoics taught that mastery begins with the self. When you control your emotions rather than letting them control you, you step into true freedom. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Cutting the strings means reclaiming that freedom, taking back your emotional autonomy, and reminding yourself that you are enough, just as you are. But let's be honest, cutting the puppet strings isn't easy. Toxic relationships are like tangled webs, and it's tempting to stay caught in them, hoping things will somehow change. You may fear the silence that follows, afraid of what it means to live without their intermittent approval. But remember, the strings that hold you down are only as strong as the meaning you give them. Once you cut them, you'll find that the control you thought they had over you was nothing more than an illusion. Think of it like a bird that's been caged for so long it's forgotten it can fly. At first, freedom feels strange, even uncomfortable. But as you spread your wings, you realize the sky was always there, waiting for you to claim it. By cutting the puppet strings, you are not just freeing yourself from manipulation. You are creating space to rediscover who you are, apart from the expectations and demands of others. This is your chance to soar, unbound and unburdened by those who never truly valued you. And here's the most powerful part. When the puppet strings fall, they lose their ability to control you, and that shift will hit them harder than any confrontation ever could. They'll realize, perhaps too late, that they can no longer manipulate your emotions or keep you on standby. Your silence, your indifference, and your refusal to engage become the loudest message you could ever send. Cutting the strings is not just the end of an old pattern. It's the beginning of a life lived on your terms, free from the weight of others' expectations. Section 4. Burning bridges to illuminate your path forward. Burning bridges. At first glance, it sounds like an act of destruction, something to avoid for fear of regret. But here's the truth. Not all bridges are worth keeping. Some bridges connect you to places you no longer belong to people who drain your energy and keep you trapped in cycles of dependency. The bridge isn't just a link, it's a tether, a subtle reminder that you're still available, still waiting, still open to being used when it's convenient for them. To burn the bridge isn't a sign of anger. It's a declaration that your peace and personal growth mean more than maintaining connections that serve no purpose but to hold you back. Think about it. How many times have you left the door open for someone to walk back into your life, hoping they'd finally change? How often have you been their backup plan, the easy option when nothing else worked out for them? Stoic philosophy teaches that attachment to things, or people, beyond our control is the root of much suffering. Holding on to these connections, even loosely, is like carrying stones in your pocket, small burdens that accumulate until they weigh you down entirely. Burning the bridge is an intentional release, a signal that you refuse to remain an option in someone else's life at the expense of your own self-worth. This isn't about revenge or bitterness. It's about creating space for something better. When you burn the bridge, you are not merely cutting ties. You are lighting the path forward, illuminating a future no longer cluttered with unmet expectations. The Stoic mindset demands that we let go of what no longer serves us, no matter how familiar it may feel. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The bridges that hold you back are the very obstacles standing between you and the person you are meant to become. Set them aflame, and in their ashes, you will find clarity and direction. Yes, burning a bridge feels daunting. You may worry about loneliness, about closing the door on something that once mattered to you. But ask yourself, what is the real cost of keeping it intact? Every time you leave that door open, you allow old patterns to creep back in. You give others permission to treat you as if your time, energy, and emotions are infinitely expendable. Burning the bridge isn't about abandoning kindness. It's about drawing a firm boundary with wisdom and self-respect. The fire you ignite doesn't just sever the old connection. It fuels your journey forward. Imagine your life as a ship preparing to sail. As long as the bridge between the shore and your ship remains, part of you stays anchored to the past, unable to move freely toward new horizons. Burning the bridge is the only way to ensure you won't drift back into the familiar but toxic waters of dependence and doubt. Once the bridge is gone, the only direction left is forward. And with each step you take, you'll feel lighter, more in tune with your purpose, more connected to the person you were always meant to become. And here's the irony. Those who once relied on your presence, your availability, your willingness to remain connected, they'll feel the loss. They'll realize too late that what they took for granted was never theirs to own. They might try to rebuild the bridge and reach out in hopes of reestablishing the old dynamic. But by then, you will have already moved on, too far ahead to look back. Burning the bridge was never about punishing them. It was about freeing yourself. And once you've experienced that freedom, you'll wonder why you waited so long to let it go. This isn't a one-time action. It's a practice, a mindset that requires persistence. Some bridges are easy to burn, while others require courage, especially those tied to people or situations that once meant something to you. But every time you choose to light the way forward by releasing what no longer serves you, you reinforce the most important truth. Your value is not contingent on who stays in your life, but on the respect you have for yourself. So, burn the bridges that no longer lead anywhere meaningful. In their glow, you'll find the light you need to walk confidently into your future, untethered, unstoppable, and free. Section 5. Indifference reveals their true nature. Indifference isn't just a strategy to regain your peace. It's a mirror, one that forces others to confront the reality of who they are without the mask of manipulation. When you step back and stop reacting, people are left with nothing to feed off. Those who once thrived on your attention, who knew how to press your emotional buttons, find themselves at a loss. Your silence disrupts their plans, leaving them exposed. This is the moment of truth. When you no longer engage, they are forced to reveal their authentic selves, whether it's desperation, indifference, or perhaps the absence of genuine care. The philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when you choose not to react, the truth naturally surfaces. Think about it. How many people in your life have relied on your predictability? They knew you would respond, explain, or fix things, always ready to smooth over the cracks in the relationship. But the moment you become indifferent, their comfort disappears. They can no longer manipulate your emotions, and this forces them into an uncomfortable space. Some may respond with confusion, others with frustration, and a few may even vanish altogether. But this is a gift in disguise. Your indifference shines a light on their intentions, revealing whether they truly valued you or simply used you as a source of convenience. The beauty of indifference lies in its clarity. When you stop being emotionally available, those who only sought to control you will fade, and those who genuinely care will step up. It's a natural filter. Those who cannot handle the absence of your attention are the ones who were never truly invested in you to begin with. This is not about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about self-respect. You are no longer auditioning for roles in their lives, waiting to be chosen. Instead, you are choosing yourself, and that shift changes everything. Indifference forces people to grapple with the absence of the person they took for granted. Without your responses, your energy, and your efforts, they are left to confront the reality of their behavior. If they value you, they will seek to make things right. If they don't, they'll walk away, revealing what was always there beneath the surface. Either way, you win, because indifference is a form of liberation. You are no longer tethered to their moods or validation. You become free to focus on your own growth and your own peace, without the burden of constant emotional labor. This process isn't easy. There will be moments when you're tempted to break the silence, to reach out for closure, to explain yourself one last time. But that's where your strength must prevail. Remember, Closure is often an illusion, a false comfort. What you truly need is not their explanation, but the ability to move forward without it. Indifference gives you that freedom. It shifts the power dynamic, placing you firmly in control of your life. Think of yourself as a lighthouse in the storm, steady, unmoved, and illuminating. The people who once drifted comfortably within the waters of your attention must now navigate without your guidance. They may crash, or they may find their own way. But either way, their journey is no longer your responsibility. This is the heart of Stoic wisdom, understanding that we are responsible only for our own actions, not the choices of others. When you embrace indifference, you free yourself from the exhausting task of managing how others feel, respond, or perceive you. In the end, indifference brings more than peace. It brings truth. And once you see people for who they really are, without the filter of emotional entanglement, you'll never go back to being the person who once begged for scraps of attention. You'll realize that the only approval you need is your own. You'll see that the power to walk away, to stay silent, is the ultimate strength. And in that strength, you'll find something even more precious than validation: freedom. Section 6. Pulling the rug, the power of the unexpected shift. Imagine someone standing confidently on familiar ground, believing they know exactly how you'll react, certain that no matter what, you'll stay, you'll respond, you'll fight for their attention. They've built their sense of control on the assumption that you will always be there, playing your part in their carefully crafted game. But what happens when, without warning, you pull the rug from underneath them? When you stop reacting, stop explaining, and disappear into silence? That's when everything changes. It's a move they never saw coming, and it sends them into free fall, scrambling to regain the power they thought they had over you. The unexpected withdrawal of your attention forces a reckoning. They relied on your availability as a safety net, confident that you would remain predictable. But when you pull the rug, they're left without that comfort. Suddenly, they must confront the unsettling reality that you are no longer operating by their rules. As Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free," and bravery, in this case, means daring to step back, to break the cycle, and to refuse to be part of someone else's emotional game. In doing so, you send a clear message: I am no longer available for your manipulation. At first, the silence will feel unfamiliar, like stepping off a ledge into the unknown. But here's the truth. What feels like falling is, in reality, liberation. You're not the one crashing when you pull the rug from under them. They are. Their reliance on your reactions becomes their downfall. Without you playing your part, they are left confused, frustrated, and powerless. The emotional control they wielded was always fragile, built on the illusion that you needed them more than they needed you. The moment you withdraw, that illusion shatters. This isn't about cruelty or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your power. When you stop reacting, you force them to confront themselves, to navigate the void you've left behind. If they truly value you, they'll take meaningful steps to repair the relationship. But if they vanish, you'll know the truth, that they were never worth the effort you invested. Either way, you win, because you've freed yourself from the exhausting cycle of seeking validation from those unwilling to offer it. Pulling the rug requires emotional resilience. There will be moments when you question your decision and feel the pull to re-engage, reach out, and explain yourself one more time. But this is where your strength must prevail. You're not pulling the rug as an act of spite. You're doing it to reset the balance, to reclaim the emotional energy that rightfully belongs to you. The Stoics teach that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Your mind may conjure fears of losing them forever, but in truth, what you're losing is the weight of false hope and unreciprocated effort. Visualize this moment as a leap of faith. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, uncertain of what lies ahead, yet knowing that staying on the ledge means living small, tethered to someone else's whims. When you jump, when you pull the rug, you're choosing freedom over fear. And once you've taken that step, you'll realize you were never meant to stand still. You were meant to soar. By pulling the rug, you also reset the foundation of your relationships. Those who want to stay in your life will need to rebuild the connection on your terms, with respect and authenticity. And if they don't, you've saved yourself the time and energy you would have wasted on someone unwilling to meet you halfway. This is the beauty of indifference. It's not just a withdrawal, it's a recalibration. You are no longer the one chasing. You are the one setting the pace. In the end, pulling the rug isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about choosing yourself over patterns that no longer serve you. It's about learning that your peace and self-worth are far more valuable than any fleeting sense of validation. Most importantly, it's about embracing the power that comes from silence, from absence, and from walking away without looking back. Once you make that shift, you'll find that the freedom on the other side was worth every step. Section 7. Freeing yourself from the illusion of closure. Closure. How often have you waited for that final conversation, that apology, or an explanation you believe will finally set you free? The desire for closure is powerful. It convinces you that peace lies just on the other side of someone else's words, and that you need their validation to move on. But here's the truth that Stoicism reveals. Closure is an illusion, a chain disguised as liberation. The longer you wait for it, the more you bind yourself to the past, tethered to an outcome beyond your control. As Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control. When you embrace indifference, you release yourself from the need for closure. You stop searching for meaning in someone else's explanations and begin finding it within yourself. This shift in perspective is liberating. It's no longer about what they say or don't say. It's about reclaiming the power to define your own narrative. Every unanswered message, every unresolved goodbye, becomes irrelevant when you realize that the only closure you truly need is the decision to move forward. By choosing not to engage, you sever the emotional ties that kept you stuck in place. Imagine yourself tied to a sinking ship. With every attempt to seek closure, you pull yourself closer to the wreckage, hoping to salvage something from it. But the reality is that nothing they say will ever heal the wounds. They'll only keep you anchored in their emotional chaos. True closure isn't something they give you. It's something you give yourself. It's the moment you decide, without permission or apology, that you are done. You no longer need their validation, their understanding, or their forgiveness to move forward. That's where your freedom lies. But let's be honest. Walking away without closure isn't easy. There will be moments when doubt creeps in. Moments when the urge to reach out feels overwhelming. You'll tell yourself that just one conversation will bring you peace. But that's a lie. Even if they gave you the perfect explanation, it would never be enough. The peace you seek cannot be found in their words. It can only be found in your own resolve. Stoic philosophy teaches us to let go of the things we cannot control, and closure is one of them. It is not an external gift. It is an internal choice. Think of it this way. You are holding a rope tied to a balloon. The balloon represents the closure you think you need to feel free. But the longer you hold on, the more the rope cuts into your hands, causing you pain. The only way to stop the pain is to let go. And when you do, the balloon drifts away, and you realize that freedom was never in the balloon. It was always in your ability to release it. When you stop seeking closure, you reclaim your emotional autonomy. You are no longer a prisoner of unresolved conversations or unspoken apologies. Instead, you step into a place of inner strength where your peace is untouchable, not dependent on anyone else's actions. It is in this indifference, this refusal to chase what is beyond your control, that you find true closure. And here's the paradox. Once you stop needing closure, the people who left you waiting may come back, offering the very explanations you thought you needed. But by then, you won't care. You'll have moved on to a place where their words no longer hold power over you. This is the essence of indifference. It makes you untouchable. Your silence becomes your strength, and your refusal to engage becomes the closure they never expected. In the end, the only closure that matters is the one you create for yourself. It's the moment you decide that your peace is more valuable than their explanations, that your life is too precious to be spent waiting on someone else's terms. Once you embrace this truth, you are free to live without the burden of unresolved endings, free to move forward without looking back. And that, in itself, is the ultimate form of closure. Section 8. Redefining the playing field, taking control of your life. When you embrace indifference, you're not just walking away, you're shifting the entire game. The rules they once relied on, the expectations they had of you, no longer apply. Indifference redefines the playing field, putting you in control of your emotional world and forcing you to face a new reality where you're no longer available on demand. Those who once thrived on your predictability now find themselves in uncharted waters, unsure of how to proceed. This isn't just a tactic, it's a transformation. You're no longer reacting to their whims. You're reclaiming your right to live on your terms. Think about the dynamics that existed before you chose indifference. They knew how to elicit a response, whether through guilt, charm, or neglect. They counted on you always being there, ready to explain yourself, smooth things over, or accommodate their needs. But now, by stepping into indifference, you introduce a new element: uncertainty. Suddenly, they don't know how to navigate a relationship where you are no longer playing the role they assigned you. This shift unsettles them, forcing them to question the control they thought they had. The Stoics remind us that the only control worth having is over ourselves. As Epictetus said, we are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. When you stop basing your emotional state on others' behavior, you regain the power to define your own experience. You are no longer a pawn in their game. You are the one setting the boundaries, the one dictating the terms. This shift in perspective changes everything. It places you on higher ground, where their opinions, moods, and demands no longer dictate your peace. This isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's about clarity. When you embrace indifference, you no longer need to prove your worth or seek approval. Instead, you invest your energy into yourself, into becoming the best version of who you were meant to be. This transformation redefines the way others perceive you. The people who once took you for granted now realize they no longer have access to the emotional power they used to wield. And in that realization, they are forced to confront their own behavior. They can either step up and meet you on your level, or they will fall away, revealing that they were never truly invested. But here's the challenge. Maintaining this shift requires discipline. There will be moments when you're tempted to fall back into old patterns, to respond, to explain, to try and restore the relationship. But this is where the real work begins. Indifference is not a one-time act. It is a way of being. It's the choice to remain centered in your own peace, no matter how much others try to pull you back into their emotional turbulence. Every time you resist the urge to engage, you reinforce the new dynamic, reminding both yourself and others that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. Picture it like this. You were once in a dance where the rhythm was dictated by someone else's lead. But now, you've stepped off the dance floor entirely. They are left dancing alone, confused, and frustrated by the absence of your participation. And here's the truth. It's not your responsibility to teach them the new steps. They must learn on their own, and if they can't, they were never meant to join you on this new path. The beauty of redefining the playing field is that it restores balance. You are no longer expending energy on those who take more than they give. You are no longer chasing after those who don't appreciate your presence. And most importantly, You are no longer basing your self-worth on anyone else's validation. This is the heart of Stoicism, understanding that peace comes from within, not from external approval. As you continue to embrace this shift, you'll find that the people meant to walk with you will naturally align with the new version of yourself. And those who can't handle your indifference will fall away, leaving you with the space and freedom to cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections. This is your life, your journey, and your peace. You are the one in control now, not them. In the end, redefining the playing field isn't just about changing the dynamics with others. It's about transforming the way you engage with life itself. You no longer react to external events. You respond with wisdom, intention, and clarity. And that, in itself, is the ultimate power move. You are no longer just a participant in someone else's game. You are the one creating the rules, setting the pace, and defining what matters. And once you realize that, you'll never play by anyone else's rules again. Conclusion. This journey toward indifference is not just about walking away from toxic patterns. It's about walking toward yourself. Each moment of silence, each boundary drawn, and every time you resist the urge to chase validation, you are reclaiming something far more valuable than the attention of others: your peace. The path of indifference isn't always easy. It requires discipline, courage, and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves you. But once you embrace this shift, you step into a kind of freedom that no one can take away. This isn't about playing games or manipulating others. It's about living with intention, guided by the wisdom of the Stoics, who understood that real power lies not in control over others, but in mastery over the self. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you stop giving others the power to dictate your emotions, you unlock the strength to shape your life according to your own values and vision." There will come a moment when those who once took you for granted realize what they lost. They will try to re-enter your life, to rebuild the connection they assumed would always be there. But by then, you'll understand the greatest truth of all. You never needed them to complete you. Your peace, your worth, your power, all of it was within you from the beginning. Indifference isn't just a strategy. It's a transformation, a way of living that aligns your actions with your highest self. This is only the beginning. There is more to learn, more ways to grow, and more power waiting for you to claim. Every step you take toward mastering indifference brings you closer to becoming the person you were meant to be, unburdened, untouchable, and free. As you continue on this path, you'll discover that the best relationships are not those you chase, but the ones that align naturally with your newfound peace and strength. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to break free from emotional chains and take control of your life, we invite you to join us on this journey. Subscribe to our channel for more insights, lessons, and empowering content designed to help you reclaim your strength and transform your mindset. Together, we explore the wisdom of ancient philosophy and practical strategies to live with purpose, intention, and freedom. Don't let life happen to you. Choose to master it. Hit that subscribe button now and stay with us as we dive deeper into the principles that will help you elevate your mind, strengthen your relationships, and take control of your destiny. This is your journey. The question is, are you ready to step into the power that's always been yours?